These are 8 dangerous signs of Crohn's disease you must not ignore, because they will have serious health consequences if you let them get out of hand. I have seen people die from these symptoms, but I've also seen people get better from Crohn's disease by addressing the root cause. I've had students gain 30 pounds in just a month or two when they address the root cause of these 8 symptoms that I'm going to show you. Maybe you've been diagnosed with Crohn's disease, maybe you're not sure if you have Crohn's disease, or you're checking in for a family member, but you need to stay and watch this whole video, because I'm going to educate you on what Crohn's disease is, what you need to do to fix it, and how to deal with these 8 dangerous symptoms. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Mike the Heal Your Gut Guy. I healed myself 100% naturally of Crohn's, and I've helped many other people heal from Crohn's, colitis, and all sorts of other nasty gut issues. So the first sign of Crohn's disease that you must pay attention to is diarrhea, and especially extreme diarrhea. If you're going to the bathroom 20 times a day, and if you've been going to the bathroom 20 times a day, some people for years, even for a whole week, going to the diarrhea 20 times a day is not good. Especially if there's blood and mucus in the stool, and there's extreme weight loss, or you're underweight. This is a sign that something is going on in your digestive system. You're not absorbing your food. And it shows. The extreme weight loss is evidence of that. So, in order to know if you have Crohn's disease or not, we need to understand what Crohn's disease is, because I looked up a definition of Crohn's disease today, and I got 3 different definitions from reputable sources, if you can call them that. I looked at the Mayo Clinic, and they said it's from stomach to butthole. I looked at Wikipedia, it said from the mouth to butthole. I've talked to so many GI doctors, and the definition switches from year to year, if not from day to day. And it's because when people don't understand what's going on, people tend to overcomplicate things. It's actually very simple and straightforward on what's going on. And the reason why your doctor can't tell you what's wrong with your gut is because he has no idea what is going on. And he has some complex explanation that doesn't make any sense. So the discoverer of Crohn's disease, his name was Dr. Burrell Crohn's, and he did not want to call it Crohn's disease. The GI doctors of the day, they were all like fanboys, like, whoa, let's call it Crohn's disease. And he was like, no, let's call it like we've been calling diseases since the dawn of time. Since the time of Hippocrates. Okay, your skin's inflamed, let's call it the epidermis, the dermatitis. The itis means inflamed. And that's what Dr. Burrell Crohn's did. He found that people with these set of symptoms, and we're going to go over all these symptoms step by step, and the root cause of each one of them, and how to do and how to get rid of them. But in order to do that, we have to know what Crohn's disease, we have to know our enemy, so we can... If you want to know how to fix something, you have to at least know what it is first. So guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and go down and leave a comment. I answer everybody's comments. I want to help you get better as fast as possible. So what did Dr. Crohn's call Crohn's disease? He called it enteritis, which means intra or something like that. That was the Greek or the Latin word for small intestine. So if the whole small intestine, the small intestine's really long. So it's almost impossible for the whole small intestine to be inflamed. I guess it is possible, but very, very extremely rare. But he would call it regional enteritis, which means throughout the whole small intestine, there's patches of inflammation. Makes sense? You're just describing what you see. If he only saw inflammation in the duodeneitis, which is the first part of the small intestine, he would call the duodenum. He would call it duodeneitis. I know these are like kind of intimidating terms, but it's literally just the first part and the second part of the small intestine. The ileum is what you just call ileitis. Regional ileitis means there's just little splatches of inflammation. If someone has inflammation in the colon, you call it colitis. And they actually wanted to call it Crohn's disease of the colon, and thank God that didn't stick. So all we're dealing with here is different spots of inflammation throughout the digestive system. But there's more than just inflammation going on here. If you have done a colonoscopy, and again, when you do a colonoscopy, it doesn't get all the way up. I mean, you get to about here, and maybe they can stick the camera here and see a little inflammation here. So a colonoscopy is going to tell you if your colon is inflamed, and if you have colitis or ulcerative colitis or diverticulitis. Diverticulitis is when you have the pockets here. And the reason why I need to explain all of this is because all these 8 danger signs, these 8 symptoms, the tissue of the colon and the small intestine are very similar, and so they produce similar symptoms. So the way that someone checks if they have inflammation, if they have issues going on in the small intestine, is they usually do it with an MRI. I guess they could also do it with x-rays and ultrasounds and stuff like that, but I was diagnosed with an MRI because you can't get a camera in there. The only way they get a camera in there, I think they have a pill you can swallow now, but I don't think they do that very often. I think it's quite expensive. But those are the different ways to get diagnosed. So what's really going on here? So another doctor came on the scene about in the 70s or in the 80s, and his name was Dr. Hammer. And he created a different way of looking at medicine. Instead of chopping off organs and drugging people with toxins and stuff, toxic drugs and stuff like that, he wanted to understand what was really going on. Why was the body misbehaving? And so he discovered that everybody with inflammation in their small intestine, if he looked at their brain CT scan, they would have a ring or a washed out ring in a very specific location 100% of the time. And if they didn't have inflammation in their small intestine, this ring would be gone 100% of the time. And so he started to interview these people and tried to figure out what was going on. And he found that everyone with small intestinal inflammation, they were very angry. They had a lot of indigestible anger, and they would tell them, and this is not just him, like Dr. Crohn's as well. He goes, yeah, all my digestive disease patients, they have anger issues. They have anger management issues. They need help with that, all of them. And so what's happening, like Crohn's disease always happens or always flares up after a very stressful situation. I would get mad at the red light for, making me late for work. I would get mad at my computer for having to do an update at a very inconvenient time. But the times where I got the most digestive system issues was during stressful times in my life, usually having to do with, breakups in a relationship or something like that. So stress is a threat to your survival. So what your body is doing, it's adapting an organ, which is a survival tool to help you overcome this stressful event in your life. Start asking yourself now, what stress was in my life? What do I get angry about right before my symptoms started? And maybe you've had symptoms for a very long time. What was the stressful event that started a flare and a drastic increase? What was something stressful when the extreme weight loss set in? You could definitely remember that. And if you're having a hard time remember that, scroll through your Facebook pictures, scroll through a photo album, and start looking, start asking yourself, what was going on in my life when this extreme weight loss happened? So when you're stressed out, indigestible, oh, I can't believe she did that, doesn't make any sense, she's crazy, oh, The body tries to help you digest and absorb this by developing extra gut cells. The purpose of these extra gut cells is to produce more digestive juices to help you digest this hard to digest thing in your life. And there's another type of growth that's flat. These will be diagnosed as polyps, and then the flat growths will be diagnosed as thickening of the intestinal walls. Go look on your MRI, go look on your medical reports, and you will see polyps and growths, abnormalities, thickening of the intestinal wall. These are extra gut cells, and they have a purpose to help you digest and absorb this hard to digest thing in your life. Now, when these are growing, you're not going to have many symptoms. You're just going to be like stressed out and irritable and angry. But what starts the symptoms is when the conflict gets resolved. So my indigestible anger got resolved when I found a new girlfriend, or we got back together. And I no longer had to digest the stressful situation. Now my body says, oh, I don't need these extra gut cells anymore, and it starts to get rid of them. It's like, imagine, this is like physical flesh on you, and it starts, with the help of bacteria and fungi, it starts to get peeled off. Where would this inflammation come from? It's not like you ate glass or you ate something bad. I mean, even if you ate like a rotten piece of meat, that rotten piece of meat doesn't have the power to create these extra gut cells. Your body created these extra gut cells for a very specific reason. If I need to pick up something heavy, my arm is going to develop extra arm muscles over a period of time. The amount of extra gut cells depends on the intensity and the length of the conflict. The intensity of these symptoms depends on the length and the intensity of the conflict, because that means there's more gut cells we have to remove. So what does the blood and the mucus mean in your stool? What's the root cause of that? So we resolve the conflict, and the body starts to get rid of these extra gut cells. So we're removing physical flesh. Gravity takes it down and out, blood and mucus. It's a sign you are in the healing phase. It's a good sign. It's a bad sign when this sticks around for years and years and years and years, which means the stress is unresolved. The first step is identify the indigestible anger in your life. Can't spell today. Identify the indigestible anger in your life. The diarrhea is there's lots of spasming and stuff going on, and it's also your body's trying to flush out all this dead material in your gut. It's a natural process. This special program, all the functions, how pleasant or unpleasant that's in our body, has developed over millennia. This is part of the human, this doesn't just happen to humans, it happens to animals. My cat over there licking his crotch right now. We have a cat that has, diarrhea from time to time, and she's a very emotional cat. Where does the fatigue come in? So I hear a lot of people complain about fatigue. Oh, I can't do anything. When your body is removing these extra gut cells and healing, doing the healing, it's using a lot of energy, and it just requires a lot of energy. It doesn't want you running around. So we get the fatigue, and it's a tool to help the person stay in bed and not move so the body can do what it needs to do. There's other things that cause chronic fatigue. And if you are anemic, if you have low red blood cell and white blood cell and platelet counts, and that can also cause, if you're anemic, that means you have low platelet counts, And that can cause more blood because the platelets are what clot blood so you can create scabs and heal better. So this is a real problem here. If the fatigue is really bad, and this is caused by something completely different. So you might have back pain, neck pain, arthritis. If you have those symptoms, I have a video down below on anemia. I highly suggest you watch that video. I'm going to link it down below. But that's a whole nother thing. But you have to recognize we're not afraid of our symptoms anymore because we understand them. Fatigue means we're already in the healing phase. We can relax and just try not to get stressed out again. So when you're fatigued, relax. It's going to go away if we identify the stress and we fully resolve it. So you have to identify it and then resolve it. Where does the bloating and the gas come from? Where does the constipation come from? Some of you are constipated. So the intestines are lined with muscles. They're called the intestinal muscles. And they move food through the intestines by like a snake motion, a peristalsis motion, contract, expand, contract. I can't do this and it pushes the poop out. Pushes the stool out. Now, when someone's constipated, the conflict for this is something hard to digest in your life isn't moving forward. For a lot of people, I just talked to a student and it was the relationship. Someone had a child and there was this back and forth in the relationship and this person felt like the relationship isn't moving forward. I want to have more kids, but this person doesn't. And you really feel like you can't move forward, but it's a tough, what do I do? Oh, let me help you out there. I'm going to put more force. If there's something not moving forward here in the large intestine, I'm going to put more pressure behind it. We're going to squeeze behind it. We're going to squeeze the intestinal muscles here. And then we're going to expand these ones. In an effort to push this thing through. Guys, this tissue is controlled by the brainstem, the lizard brain, the oldest part of the brain. It does not know the difference between hard to digest things in your life and then hard to digest food, actually in your system. And just think about sucking on a lemon. And if you feel your mouth, your taste buds watering already. I mean, it's just proof. It's imaginary, and your taste buds are already watering. Pavlov's dog, all he had to do was ring the bell, and their taste buds would water. I'm sure you've done that with your pets as well. All you have to do is say a word. All you have to do is say chicken, and their taste buds just start. They already start drooling. Think about the language that you use. I have my language. I'm oh, that's shit. Oh, that's crap. I don't want to hear that crap. What do you think that's doing to your subconscious mind? There's crap in us. We're trying to digest it. What's going on here? So the bloating and the constipation, this causes the bloating. So bloating and constipation are conflict active symptoms for this hard to digest thing in my life isn't moving forward. And the gas is a healing symptom. On some level, that this indigestible thing is moving forward. And it releases this and the gas gets to go through. The fever. Now the fever is very interesting, and this happens during something called the healing crisis. So in order to remove these extra gut cells, water has to enter these tissues. And that's why it becomes inflamed. Water enters this tissue, and the bacteria and fungi and this inflammation process slowly removes these extra gut cells. It could take days, weeks, sometimes months. But after it's done, it needs to get rid of this water. And so what happens, and there's also a ring. There's also stuff going on here in the brain. And there's healing that needs to take place in the brain. The brain's been on overdrive too. There's extra activity going on in the brain too that it needs to be healed. And so the fever, what it does is it makes the tissues more sympathetic, more fight or flight, and it squeezes out the water. And that's when you get the cramping. You get the cramping. You get diarrhea. You get fevers. Maybe you get vomiting as well. The cramping, it's called the epileptoid crisis, the healing crisis. That's when you get the most intense symptoms because your body is squeezing out. It's squeezing out the edema, the water out of these inflamed tissues. And this is a great thing. The fever is, there's water. Water is in the brain and then it's being squeezed out. That's where the headaches are coming from. That's where the fever is coming from. And this process should only last a few days. And we can take medicines to make this, and other remedies and stuff like that, to make this more bearable. But it's a good thing, because when that's over, you've made it on the other side. It's the program, these gut cells have been removed, and it goes into the scarring phase. And the organ function returns to normal. And these symptoms become very minute. Very, they greatly get better. They go away in just a few days after the healing crisis. We also have some other symptoms such as fistulas, hemorrhoids, and heartburn. And this is, I would take, this video would be like another hour if I had to talk about all three of these things, but I will link down below to videos on every single one of these symptoms. I will link to fatigue, I will link to perianal fistulas, I will link to hemorrhoids, and I will also link to heartburn. Because Crohn's disease is this very confusing term that it's just it's an umbrella term. Oh, you have a lot of things wrong with your digestive system. We'll just call it Crohn's disease, where each symptom is its own different organ. Like heartburn, it takes place. There's so many details, guys. I've already said too much in this video, but these are all separate conditions. They're all separate organs, and they all have separate conflicts that cause these symptoms. I've had students who were in the ER. They had inflammation in the colon, in the small intestine, vomiting, extremely underweight. And they got better by addressing the root cause, addressing the stress. They were sitting there in front of the GI doctor, and their GI doctor is like, hey, you got to be on these expensive drugs the rest of your life. Hey, please sign this paper that says I'm going to cut out your colon and you're going to have to wear a bag of crap for the rest of your life. Like literally, the doctors were telling them, if you don't get this done, you are going to die and you're never going to be able to see your little daughter again. All this crazy stuff. I've helped so many people, I can't even count anymore, where they have their whole colon, they don't have to wear a bag of crap and change it. That's what happens when they have to cut out your colon. You have to wear a bag of crap the rest of your life. It's really gross. And it doesn't help. Usually that's just the beginning of issues. You can get better by addressing the root cause of the problem, and I've helped so many people do that. I've helped people on death's door. I've helped people who were days, they literally had scheduled. In 3 days, I'm going to go to the doctor and get my guts, I'm going to get gutted like William Wallace, and they're going to sew my asshole shut. They got into my program. They used this 30-day plan, which I'm about to tell you about. They have zero symptoms. They eat whatever they want. I've seen people gain 20, 30 pounds in a month. And you do it by addressing the root cause of the problem, understanding what is going on. So guys, I want to help you get better. I know this is a lot of new information and different information. This is a new way of thinking. Go down below and ask a question, and I will answer all of your questions. I want to help you get better as fast as possible. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. And if you want my 30-day plan that all my students follow to get better, it's right up here. Just click on this video. It's a video that explains everything you need to do to get better. And it also comes with a free PDF download for this 30-day plan, a little cheat sheet on what to do to get better. All you have to do is watch this video, and it'll help you address the root cause of all these symptoms.